Easy E, how are we?
Seán E, what's happening?
How are things? The last time I seen you, you're clean shaven and everything. I know that makes no sense for a podcast, but you
I
seem
didn't
to be
think you
enjoying
could see me, arse.
Jesus. That's a hell of a way to start the podcast. You just lost half our listeners.
You can't tee me up like that and expect an honest answer. I'm on my holidays.
It's early on a Sunday morning here. I forgot how late it was a Sunday night over down under where you are right now. But apart from that, we'll segue into anything else. How are you? Actually, no, I'm not even going to ask how you are because I woke up early this morning and I had a couple of little tags on the Instagram. I looked at it and you have the stats in front of you. My God, Rachael Smith. That's all I'm saying. And I'll let you talk about what she did. Was it Saturday evening, afternoon in Australia? But I woke up to a Sunday morning, or Sunday morning, I suppose, in Australia.
Yeah, it was Sunday morning. It was this morning, yeah. I have a confession. Rachael tried to ring me straight after the race when she was all emotional and happy. I was in Wet and Wild, so I didn't answer the call.
Great. So what was Rachael up to? Forget you and Wet and Wild. What was Rachael up to do this morning?
So this morning, Rachael took on her first half distance triathlon, being a half Ironman in Perth, Western Australia. It was her first time out. First time doing the half distance. Done a couple of sprints, couple of Olympics, nothing major. The first time Rachael did a triathlon, I think, was in Florida about 3 years ago.
Right.
So that's the first time she did it. Before she left for Australia, we did a little bit of training. She was just getting into the swimming. She was just getting into it. So that's kind of Rachael's triathlon journey for the last 3 years. And she has this morning, out of 1,005 athletes, both male and female, she finished 52nd.
Unbelievable.
Out of every woman in the race, she finished first. And there was 311 of them.
My God.
And in her age category, between 25 and 29, she finished first, obviously.
Yeah, you built that the wrong way.
And there was, but it's just to show there was 53 people of Rachael's age. She wasn't just racing 70-year-olds or, there was 53 people of her age. So she beat all them. And a lot of people, when they try and take on the half Ironman, they just say, I'd love to get under 5 hours. In her first go, Rachael went around in 4 hours, 42 minutes and 20 seconds.
My God. Like the only thing
is unbelievable. And the best part is Rachael has now qualified for the World Championships in Finland next year.
We gotta do a bit of a bust on that one. That is absolutely phenomenal, Rachael. Unbelievable. Just the only thing I could relate to that, because I can't relate to the cycle and swim that much, was I saw on her Strava, and rightly put, she has Western Australian champ in this. Her half marathon, she averaged a pace of 4 minutes 12 a kilometer. 4 minutes 12 a kilometer. She did it under an hour and a half, the half marathon, to finish the swim and the cycle. And you know more details on that than I do. That's a phenomenal half. And Rachael wasn't someone who did half. She did 5s and 10s. No. And she's talking in this podcast, she wasn't big into the halves. And then she goes and does that at the end of the cycle of swim. My God.
Yeah. She we'll go a little bit technical because I know a lot of people that listen, they like to know some of the facts and figures.
Yeah.
I think on her swim, it was just over a 130 per 100 meter, which is pretty phenomenal. Rachael, when we swam together, was averaging about 2 minutes per 100 meter and has really worked. And now she cruises. It's just brilliant. And then her cycle. So her plan for the 90 kilometer cycle was to just hold 190 watts. So that's her power. So regardless, hills, this, that, the other, it was just holding 190 watts for the whole thing. And she said she did that to within a watt or two every 9K. She stuck to her plan. And then, as you said, she got off the bike and ran a half marathon in 1 hour and 28. So she said to me on the phone, now listen, I don't want to steal her thunder. We'll give the facts because I am amazed. What a woman. She's absolutely brilliant. I have to sing her praises for her because she'll be nothing but modest when she comes on. But like she said to me, she actually didn't really feel sore until about 4 kilometers to go. I was like, would you
wow.
but do you know what? I am beaming with pride. Like it's just, I'm so happy to just know her. Like so happy to have trained with her, excited with her. Like it is our own version of our local hero because what she's done is absolutely phenomenal. And she's only getting started. Because when you look at the age categories now, there is the professionals. Okay, there's the professional side of things. We're talking about Olympic triathletes, etc. It is a different league, and rightly so. So this is I showed up for the race like me and you do, and we get a medal, and we have a good day out and go on the beer. Rachael has showed up in her Saw Doctors t-shirt, and she's gone and won it.
That there's not a running race in this country that I can enter of being at the right age to do it and go out and win it or come close or even thinking, okay, this could be my day to win the whole thing. And the fact she entered an event for her first time doing that distance and just went out and won the thing, unbelievable, a class. And to qualify for World Championships in Finland next year, my God.
Yeah, and to be honest, like with the numbers she's churning, she's only getting warmed up. What could happen?
We're putting the pressure on now, but she has what you were saying before the podcast started. The World Championship of Finland is next August, so she's got another 8 months of training to build onto this. Like, it's brilliant.
She's got 8 months, and hopefully she's coming up to Christmas. If ever there's a way to earn your summer break here in Australia, it's a bit of downtime. But it's absolutely amazing. I can't believe it. No, sorry. It's not that I can't believe it. The horrible thing is I can believe it.
Yeah,
like,
I was the same.
Said it to her, I was like, do you know what? If you didn't win, it'd kind of be a little bit disappointing.
But when I saw the thing, I was half asleep looking at it this morning when I saw the story. I saw she came first, and I saw out of like over 300 women and just 53 overall out of over whatever it was in overall over 1,000 people. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe she did it. It was like, that is unbelievable, but very, very believable. Like, no offense to you. If you did a triathlon, you came one. I'm like, no, he fucking didn't. He took the Lewis. Like, he didn't win it. But when you see the race and the work she put in, you're like, okay, this is actually it's an athlete's the only way of putting it there, a class athlete.
The only reason I do is if I ate the rest of the competition. But no, it's like when you look at the field, a third of the race were female, which is a phenomenal for athletes here. And having been here and just seeing the outdoor lifestyle, the resources that are here, there's a swimming pool. I think there's 3 or 4 swimming pools within 5 kilometers of me. Outdoor, indoor facilities covered and all 50 meters. Like, it is amazing. And
but you still have to grab it by the neck. Like, you still have to grab it and go, you know what? Like, you have to put yourself out there and keep going at it. So while the facilities are there, the fact that she went, I'm taking full advantage of this and where she is now. Because it's like she's used Australia as a massive training camp for her. On top of all, I'm sure she's doing all the things with work and everything else. Like, but it is deadly.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And I was just, do you know what? I'm not, look, I'm trying to just keep it for the interview, but like, I was literally interviewing her on the phone. I was like, and when did you pass people? And did you know you were winning? And I was getting in. And she was like, she didn't know she was winning because it was done in stages and they released people at different times. And I was like, oh my God. Like, at least if you can see the target, you know, but to not know, you're like, oh, how am I doing? So yeah, but listen, I'll leave that for an interview because that's going to be exciting. I want to build that excitement and talk through, but it's absolutely amazing. It's brilliant. Unfortunately, we expect nothing less from you, Rachael, because you are a superstar. But no, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, unfortunately, it is on at the same time I'm supposed to do Hardman Killarney next year.
Right.
But I think I might have to bump it on the head and go watch Rachael in a World Championship.
Okay. But I'm going to just finish your thought on that, though. Finish your thought on that. It's like, you're bumping Hardman, but you are...
I'm probably going to do Ironman Portugal.
Right. We put that out there.
We're putting it out there. So I'm either gonna flop or fail on this one. I'm inspired by Rachael now. I'm gonna book an Ironman overseas. But I think I can't, especially because she's going to be coming from Australia to do it.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity to go spend time with her as well. But yeah, no, we definitely, I could not miss that. That.
But you see, Rachel's a big superstar now, being Western Australian champion in this half Ironman distance. So I'm not too sure she's going to make it onto our little podcast. But our little podcast hasn't done so bad, as we found out this week on our Instagram. We'll talk about that a little bit more after we hit the intro music for this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast.
I think we hit the intro music, but I think people probably were just sweating listening to us. They were just like, she did what? Hit the intro music. We're like, oh Jesus, what are they going to talk about now?
we literally we can't top the intro. We'll do all right for the rest of the podcast, but we can't top what Rachel did in the intro.
We don't want to steal her thunder though. So let's park that one and move on with the rest. Seán, we're worldwide. Shout out Pitbull there, you big handsome baldy Brazilian singer. Come on.
Normally when people call me Pitbull, it's not really a compliment.
Because you're normally growling and covered in drool. Right, come on, tell us the facts, Seán.
I don't have any of the facts in front of me, to be honest with you, because Rachel, I actually did the facts of the Rachel. But I will
All
say,
I know is, right, first of all,
you shout.
The one that shocked us. Okay, we expected to be familiar in Ireland because we know a lot of our people that are running with us and friends and stuff are listening to us. So we expected Ireland, half expected the UK as well. We'd probably pick up one or two. Austria are fine. That's shout out Austria. So basically, in case people haven't seen Instagram, we were in the top 10 in New Zealand at one point. We were. It was the South Korea.
South Korea as well. We had near the top of the charts right there as well.
I never would have thought Austria. So I want to give a shout out now. Excuse me if I butcher your name here. Sophia Stanger. We'll go with that, maybe. So Sophia's one who raised her little hand of saying a proud listener from Austria. So thanks very much for having to listen to us. Hopefully we might see you doing a couple of trainings and getting involved with a couple of Stravas. And then Amanda Negrasic, who I know. So I'm glad you're listening. Hope you're enjoying it. I have no idea how you understand Seán, but look, everything is a challenge. And hopefully you keep listening when we get back in the new year.
So yeah, this is all stats from the Spotify Wrap, the podcast edition, and like one of them was that our podcast was the top 10% shared globally. So that's how we got out to South Korea and Austria and the States and Australia filled out the top 5 there as well. And yeah, it's a bit mind blowing seeing those kind of stats and stuff that we're like top 10% most shared globally, top 10% most followed podcasts. It's like, really?
But like, this is. I can't get my head because you told me you were like, oh, we're top 10% of this. And I was like, yeah, but what does that mean? Like, how many is there?
There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of podcasts. Like, everyone has a podcast these days. So it's like, sometimes when we do these podcasts, like, oh, we're lost in shuffle here. But like the training, everyone else is just consistency. I know I say that I haven't missed last week's podcast, but for like, we've only missed one, maybe 2 Mondays throughout the entire year. And we've done a couple of doubles as well. That's why our most popular.
I don't know why, but I'm gonna blame you.
Probably me. I'll put it on me. I'll put it on me. Last week was on me. Try to organize it, and obviously with this month being this month, is just get what we can going in. I mean, you're away now, and you're away at the moment. Obviously, I'm away in the States next week. You're away the following week in Finland. I won't even see you before Christmas at this stage. And there's blessings and silver linings and all that with that one. But it is just class just to see that just the how much it's kind of built and stuff over the year, and it's that gradual build. You see the stats going up, and like I said on what we said in Instagram post at the start of the week when we missed this week's podcast, was that our last 2 months have actually been our most popular 2 months in terms of downloads. That it has grown. And obviously, October we had the growth with the Dublin Marathon, and that was our most popular week of downloads this year. And obviously, if anyone's going to be running, it's going to be in that last week of October, wanting to hear about runs and stuff like that. And then that carried over to November as well, was our second most popular month of stats. So it's just, it's humbling. If I'm honest with you, it is humbling.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel real. Like when you're looking at the stats, like top 10% shared podcasts worldwide. It's like, what? Yeah, it's like imagine I actually downloaded and listened back to our podcast. We could have been in the top
9. But like we are.
It just shows like we just record it and send it, and it's only in the last little while I've realized that there's about 120 people that tune in every Monday, and that's kind of terrifying. I mean,
it's one of the stats was we were top 5 podcasts for 143 people. So like, it's like you have all the big like Joe Rogans and stuff like that, and then it's us. And that's deadly. Like I can't show my appreciation for that anymore. Like that's saying like that sincere thank you for listening every week, because sometimes it does feel like it's just, oh, I gotta talk to Eric for a half hour on Zoom.
Here, listen, I hate talking to me too, so that makes two of us. But no, it's really good, and I suppose for the new year, Sean, we want to look at ways that all these people listening, we want to, reach out to us. If there's anything you want to talk about, let us know. If there's anything we're not covering or anything you found good, do let us know. When we started saying this, when we first recorded, it was like, oh, reach out, let us know, knowing full well like 4 people were listening to us. We felt like frauds. But
yes,
when there's 130 people there, it's kind of like, well, actually, do you want us to talk about anything? Do let us know. We'll have to try and keep things going the way they are, and add in a few more interviews and a bit more in the new year, and hopefully get a bit more fun involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, originally we started this, let's say not originally, let's say 4 or 5 months into it, we kind of want to just make this a community when the lockdowns and all started, and we had a bit of a thing on the Facebook groups, but it's now where I'm going to like events, obviously Dublin Marathon, where you're like, you see people, the Any Given Monday podcast and that kind of thing, and then you get ideas. And when I was at Run the Line, I saw Marky again at that, and a couple of other people that start following us on the Instagram from those events as well, and we'll see that more into the next year. And it's interesting to hear, because even through that, I've got an idea of different runs and events that I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for this podcast. Just like Ozzy, for example, I wouldn't have known Ozzy well at all before this podcast. I know he's a friend of yours before, but him talking about Arthur Neal, and now I've got 6 weeks to train for that thing. And then just like I wouldn't have got really into trail runs without it. And if you even listen back to the start of this podcast, I know we talked about 5Ks, and that was one of our most popular episodes this year. When I talked about that back in 2020, and me trying to break 22 minutes, and I was like, I'm gassed. I have absolutely nothing left to give. I know I can't train any harder, and I haven't broken sub 20 yet. I know I will someday, but now, like, even just this year, that became possible when I got close enough to it. I just surround myself with people that are doing city long mileage. Like Dara last year when he did the Barrow Way, it's like, when he did the 120K, I'm like, seeing someone do this, maybe this is possible. And then that led to me this year doing the 80K Eco Trail. Not just that event, other stuff I've listened to as well, and other people in the podcast. I'm like, okay, this long distance thing, 80K seems like forever. There's no way I could do that. And then through this kind of thing, I'm like, okay, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can push myself a little bit harder than I think I can. It's the same mentality as being in the gym by yourself and not knowing what weights you could lift. And then you're in a gym with other people and you see them lift, whatever it is on a deadlift or a squat. And you're like, oh, if they can do it, maybe I can actually push myself a little bit harder and go for it and see what happens. And this podcast has brought me personally, as well as knowing more people in the running community and having that more, ambition to keep doing things rather than feeling like it's just me out there alone doing it.
Yeah, and it is kind of something. It's something I've known from a younger age, playing soccer ball. It's like I was okay in the younger years and did well, and there was one thing everyone was like, "Oh, too young to do this, too young to do that." And you were kind of looking for a barrier. People would always set a barrier to you. You're too young. You're not quite tall enough to do it. Maybe next year when you're this, that, and the other. And there was one person that said, it was like, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So stop worrying about excuses. And I'll never forget that, because it's always like, just get in and mix it with everyone. And if you're good enough, who cares about your age?
Yeah.
Who cares about how much experience you have running? Who cares about this? Just get in, mix it, see where your results can stand, then ask yourself, how much work did I put in? How can I do? And can I do better? And then you know if you're good enough. And like the reason we read out Rachael's stats, and we love having Rachael in, is Rachael decides, I'm going to do triathlon. And she just goes hell for leather and wins it. Do you know, and it's a lot of us are holding ourselves back. Like you listen back on the podcast episodes, I've already described that if I'm ever going to win a triathlon, I have to eat everyone. So what I have set up is I'm going to be world champion eater. So it's
hey, in the States, that's the thing, like, a hot dog eating contest.
But even me and you kind of still hold ourselves back a little bit at times, and we're guilty at it. But hopefully with the podcast, we kind of highlight to people that average Joes, which would be ourselves, can do great things. You just have to be willing to just give it your go and see how it goes. And we paraphrase many people. There's so much motivational videos out there you can never remember. But like your first attempt at anything is not failure. It's not a win. It's not a loss. It's your first attempt. And then after that, and don't get me wrong, it never gets easier. You just get faster. Yeah. And that is all I've learned through all the interviews we've done from amazing people on what's been a fantastic year. A fantastic year for you, Seán. You've had a brilliant year, a lot of big events. You've pushed your body to limits I'm still afraid to go to. Like and seeing you do it, I had to, well, fuck him. If he's going to do that, I'm going to do an Ironman. It's the ultimate game of top trumps between me and Seán.
That's it. I go longer distance. You do the Ironman and the thing, but we've all had our first events throughout the year as well. Like we've had that first attempt and being like, oh, I've talked about this in the podcast, but you know what? No one cares. It's in terms of like you get your first attempt, you do what you want, you just go back and do it again, and you just dust yourself off, get back in the saddle, and you're like, okay, that's how that first attempt went. Now a bit more experience, that second attempt, and let's go. And you got to accept that what's going to happen.
And I know that's a bit of a segue from what we've been talking about, but we hope you, as the listener, have enjoyed hearing us make our first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Me still on the second attempt, Seán onto the eighth attempt at things, but it's I hope that's what people like hearing, is that little bit of humble and a bit of honesty and a bit of but you know what, I didn't run this week and I ate 2 cream cakes tonight and I had a hot chocolate because we put up the Christmas tree, you know, and it's the bit of honesty around it, but how we can turn that side of life and then transition into full animal mode, you know, like and hopefully it is something that people can resonate with or feel that it's attainable for them, particularly if I'm talking about my seesawing with weight, or I come off the wagon and I can't find the wheels for a couple of weeks or months or whatever it is. I hope that resonates with people, just like running 80k and then going on a beer resonates with some people with Seán, you know. So it's I really hope people are enjoying it, and hopefully in the new year we might have some Any Given Training Day challenges, something that we can start pushing people along with us. And well, it's more so selfish. It's more so me and Seán can be pushed by other people.
100% agree on that.
It's been absolutely brilliant, and to be honest, after the marathon, I suppose we're kind of getting into highlights. One of the best highlights for me, Seán, is the marathon, for the simple reason of 4 people I didn't know, never met, saw me running, and were like, "Oh, you're from the podcast." And I was like, "Oh, I assume you listen to the podcast." Hello, I'm Eric. And they're like, "I know." I was like, "Oh." It was weird. And then the amount of people that did pop in for a beer afterwards, they just came throughout the day, just popped in, said hello and toddled off, said thanks and worked away. And it was a really, really cool moment and a highlight in the year I never thought I'd have. I never thought I'd have when we started the podcast. So it's been really good. And we still have some great people that we haven't had on yet. And we know we haven't had you on yet, but sometimes when it's getting towards the tail end of the year, we need some material for January and February, and we need some great people to get us going in the new year.
Yeah, 100%. Like it is that busy end of the year, but even that marathon, we said it in the podcast. I know we knew we'd have Ozzy and 1 or 2 people that'd be there afterwards, but we didn't expect when we got there. I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. And we didn't expect during the race someone to go, "Hey, you, Any Given Run Day podcast." We're both kind of half shitting ourselves before the event just to get through it and have our different goals and stuff there. But it is great to look back at the year and just see, okay, I had I had this goal, the 5Ks at the start of the year, and building towards the 10 and the halves and the different events and stuff you've had. And there'll be definitely a time now throughout Christmas. I don't like New Year's resolutions, but I do like a long-term plan throughout the year. And I'm already kind of like, obviously you are as well. You've planned out now. It's Portugal in October, and I know I have my Dublin Marathon around that stage. I know I've got my ultra marathon, backyard ultra in May, and I start like planning around there. I'll probably do a smaller, and not as many events this year, but bigger events and lead towards that. So I'm going to go for the 5K again in middle of February. The Streets of Clay 5K is out. It's going to be the third week of February. So that'll lead a good month after the Art O'Neill. And then from there, I might do a 10 or a half or something, and probably more just longer distance stuff to build to May for the ultra marathon. Take a couple of weeks off this time instead of jumping into the next event. The next event, like I did this October, that near killed me when I got to run the line. And then that'd be the big build towards Dublin again. I tried to get Germany, Berlin. That didn't happen this year. So I'm going to do one of the big six is there for a future year. I just don't know when.
Yeah, we one that I suppose when we're not trying to tackle as many. It's like we've walked into a theme park, Sean. We've now realised we're tall enough to go on every ride, and it's like, which one will we go on next? So eventually, when we have a few spins on a few of them, we can then start picking and choosing which ones we really want to go to then, and we can, once we tick the bucket list stuff, we can then start being a little bit more selective in our choices of where we'd like to go.
That's it. Then it's goals and stuff. Like your one now seems to be the big Ironmans next year, as in like you want to get your first Ironman on your belt, and then from there it'd be interesting to see, okay, did you prefer the cycling more, the running more, the swimming more? Is it more Ironmans? Is to get faster than half Ironman and stuff? But I think I could be wrong, but it's like you need to get that one under your belt. I'm not too sure what my next marathon goal is. Like I could get to Dublin and be like, I just want to cruise this one this year, and just get through it and have a day out, or it could be a faster time depending on what way the year is falling. But I think that I'm heading towards the long distance running stuff. And I'm a little bit afraid of how long is too long, and I want to push that barrier. I'm getting too cocky about 60K in January, even though I know I shouldn't be, even though it's overnight. And it's going to have a lot of different challenges in itself that I need to kick myself into high gear, because I've been taking it back the last couple of weeks of training, just because the body's like, you need a rest, pal. But then after that, then seeing where I get in May, and I could be totally humbled in May, you only get 8 hours. But the main one, I suppose, next year is to get that 100 miles in 24 hours under my belt. That's my goal for 2023. That'd be my main one, would be the 100 miles in 24 hours.
Yeah, no, it might come down for an hour or two and give you a few sandwiches and then fuck off again, to be honest.
Thank you very much. Just don't put any mayo on the sandwich and I'll thoroughly appreciate it.
I might just come down and throw eggs at you.
That might get me running faster.
But it's it is good, and hopefully the likes of Sophia, Amanda, and Austria come over and do the Dublin Marathon. We'll start making a big thing of it. But yeah, it's been a phenomenal year. We're not quite finished. We're hoping to get Rachael on next week if we can line things up nicely between us all, because Rachael is a big part of our podcast and a big part of our Any Given Training Day family, and we're hoping to have her on for the final episode of the year. But it's just been absolutely phenomenal. It is nice, and I know we touched on it a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to rehash it. But New Year's resolutions, just be careful. We always say motivation is temporary, but habits last a lot longer. So whatever you're picking, or whatever you're planning on doing, just make sure it's attainable. Like there was a book I read recently on habit building and stuff like that, and why we do things. And one of the things was saying that people who struggle to go to the gym, part of the routine was you had to go to the gym. So you drive to the gym, you go into the gym, drink water, leave the gym, and go home. And some people might be like, what? Why would you do there? Sure, you're there. But the thing is, people would be like, oh, I'm not arsed doing the workout. But the habit is actually getting there. The habit is actually leaving the house at the same time every day to just get there. And then eventually you're kind of like, well, I am here now. I might as well do something. So whatever goal you are picking, don't be looking at the end goal. Like if I used to look at January, I was like, oh, Jesus, I have to do an Ironman. It's like, what? I'm going to look at doing a 3K shakeout. Yeah. And if we can do a 3K shakeout every day, it's probably what more people will do in that week. like, so just pick something that you can be consistent with. Consistency is king. Like, I know at some point next year, I'm going to have to give myself a kick in the hole and start going swimming at 6 o'clock in the morning. Is it going to be in January? Absolutely not, because every morning I'm going to wake up and go, nah, because I know what I'm like. And until the other stuff is starting to be good, my fitness levels are up, my energy levels is up, my nutrition is intact, then it's a case of I just have to get aggressive with myself in the morning. And then it's a case of, do you want it? And then you've moved into the carrot kind of thing. Like, it's, well, or fear. It can be carrot or stick. I can be afraid that I'm going to fail, and that will get me out of bed. Or it can be, come on, do you want to actually do this? Get out of bed. But there's no point doing that if you haven't got everything else lined up and ease yourself into things. And I think that's where everyone kind of fails. They all go for this 4-week master blaster in January, and they're gone by February. And maybe pick it back up then in the summer, which is okay. It's okay. Things come up. But that's my last little word for the resolution, since how you brought it up. I know we talked about it. I don't want to get into it again, but yeah, just have a think. Start training over Christmas. Run the turkey.
I mean, just before we wrap up the podcast, I suppose for yourself, then, correct me if I'm wrong, the easiest thing for you, the path of least resistance would probably be, I know you have to build up your swim, your run, your cycle, would probably be in January just to hop on a turbo trainer, because it's literally next to you in the house without doing the big travel, without trying to find a way into the gym on a cold night and heat up the cold car and all the rest, or definitely not going out on the road cycling in January, or find your way to a swimming pool and getting cold before hopping in. It's like, all I have to do is hop on the turbo trainer. That's right beside you, and just get that shakeout, and then you start building that and adding a bit more from there. So you don't have to achieve, you don't have to be the best swimmer, cyclist, and runner by the end of January. All you need to do is get starting on one of those things. And if you get once you're on the bike, what people don't realize is it's going to increase your mood and your energy, not just all the fitness things, your mood and your energy. You're going to doing more makes you able to do more, which doesn't make too much sense. But when you're on the bike, you start building yourself up and you get fitter, you realize, actually, this does make sense, because I now feel the endorphins are released. So you feel like, actually, I'm going to push on a little bit from here. But it's just whatever is that easiest path of resistance for you to get started. Do what you like. If that's going to the gym and strength training in January, then that's that for you. If it's, if it is going out for runs, great. That's it for you. If it is hopping a turbo trainer, that's it for you. And maybe it is just going for a casual swim first thing in the morning before getting a shower and getting ready for work. That's it for you then.
Yeah, and that's it exactly. And one element, part of my resolution, is to get 5 minutes of stretching every day. And that might sound like a very easy task.
But timing, that's not. No,
it is not. And it's only 5 minutes. And that's one element I have to work on. I cannot keep taking on the distances or wanting to do it if I don't start paying the body back with proper recovery and stretching. But 5 minutes to me is 5 minutes more than I ever did. And if I do that every day, that's a half hour more than I would have done normally, bar the odd stretch before a run, the quick gimmicks and this, that and the other, and get on with it. So yeah, that's one thing I need to better on. And we're talking about doing Ironmans, and I said the bit I'm finding hardest is to stretch for 5 minutes a day. I will gladly just shoes on, go out the door and see how far I can run. That's easy.
It's easy for you.
It's stretching and all the other stuff that comes with, the overall athletic goal that you're looking for. That's important. So I have to look at little things. But yeah, in the new year, you mentioned Zwift. More than likely with a big goal. And for those who are interested, I'm probably going to organize a couple of scheduled kind of training cycles where people can join in with me. If you do have Zwift and you're interested in joining in with me, I'll probably post it up, Sean, and get a bit better on the old Instagram. But I'll probably post it up and kind of give timings and what we're going to do in that session. And yeah, just to kind of keep us somewhat social, because like that, as we talked about, and bring it back, we know some great people. And training on your own won't really push me, and I'd love to have people there to keep pushing me along and me push them along, because in January everyone's going to have a great head start with me, but when the beast comes out it's going to be a different animal then. But yeah, no, it's been really good. So yeah, keep an eye out on our social media and stuff for some nice things in January with some easy cycles, because I'm a fair weather athlete. I'm going to be on the turbo. And as Sean said, path of least resistance. I would rather sit in the turbo indoors for 2 hours than get all my warm gear on and take on a mountain in the rain. So yeah, there'll be a good few turbo sessions coming in the new year.
Unreal. On that note, we will wrap up this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. We hope to have one more before the end of the year with Rachael. And if not, for some reason, whether if not or we do or don't, thank you for listening to the podcast today and throughout the entire year, especially, and this is no hyperbole because we saw the stats all around the globe. So thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. If we don't see you, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. That's it for myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.